Hi everyone, it's Wednesday Warriors and it's me, Arielle. And this week I'm going to be talking about joy. This week I'm answering a question from my fellow video blogger Jenn, and her question is, what role did joy play in your recovery? What role does joy play in living your life as a recovered person? How does joy help you help others? Those are three awesome questions, and I'm sure I could do a video about each of those three questions separately, but I'm going to try to pack it all into this one video and do my best with giving a true and valid response. Before I had fully invested myself in recovering from an eating disorder, joy was something that was missing from my life, or any joy that I experienced was short-lived. And it became very, very clear to me every time I did experience joy, how fleeting that emotion was, how fleeting that whole encompassing feeling was, and how very short it actually lasted in comparison to all of the misery and turmoil that I was feeling on a regular basis. And that joy that was missing was actually part of my realization and my turning point to choose recovery fully. I was in recovery. I was going through the motions. I was taking the steps. I was really trying, but I wasn't trying 100% because I still sort of was stuck. I still sort of believed that maybe I wouldn't really recover from an eating disorder even though I wanted it, and that was holding me back. In short, my need for joy was what fueled me to say, I've had enough, and choose recovery, not 70%, not 80%, not 90%, but 100%. Before I was recovered, joy was sort of like a long-lost friend. I knew that I had felt it before I ever had the eating disorder, and I knew that I could tap into it here and there, and it kind of always left me wanting more. Like, I could taste the joy, but it went away, and I thought that I might never get it back, and I was concerned about losing that joy completely forever, even when I believed that I could recover from my eating disorder, and even when I wanted to recover from my eating disorder, I still wondered, will I ever feel that joy all of the time? And I was thinking of joy as this long-lost friend, this thing that I wanted to get back, and I actually came to realize that joy was within me, and it was within me wanting to burst out. And as I recovered, and as I became recovered, and left my eating disorder in the dust behind and began living a truly authentic life free from that prison of the eating disorder, I really felt that joy bursting out, sharing itself with other people, and making me feel like a better person, but also just making me a better person, because joy has the ability to do that. I thought I'd give you some lessons in joy. You can't share joy if you don't feel joy. The more joy you feel, the more you inspire people, and the more people want to be around you. And I think we all know that this is true. We've seen it with people that we admire, and we have experienced it when we want to be around positive people versus negative people. And it's usually not really because they are beautiful or they're talented, although they may be those things too. It's because they have this sense of joy, and they shoot that joy out into the world, everything they touch, all the people they meet. And that's a beautiful thing, and that's a gift in itself. The more joy you feel, the more joy keeps coming to you. So the more you feel it and love it and appreciate it, the more you keep getting. So it just builds on itself, sort of like bravery. You know, the more you invest in bravery, the more you be brave, the braver you become. It's the same thing with joy. Joy just feeds more joy, and it just multiplies like bunnies. You've heard me talk about gratitude a lot, and I'm all about cultivating gratitude, but cultivate joy too. And the more you cultivate gratitude, the more joy you will feel, and you can cultivate that, and it's just this awesome cycle instead of one of those terrible, miserable cycles that you get caught and wrapped up in when you're involved in your eating disorder. Joy has nothing to do with your mind or your circumstances. It's felt with your heart. And the mind can be a beautiful thing. The mind can help us. Logic can help us, especially in recovering from an eating disorder. But sometimes you have to just try to put your mind away. Put it to the side and let your heart do the talking. And you have to let your heart do the talking to you. And once you start really listening, you'll be able to let your heart do the talking for other people, if that's what you desire. That last question that Jen had asked me, how does joy help you to help others? It's interesting because why what I do works so well, why people listen to what I have to say is because of joy. It's because I emit this joy. And it's, would you really want to listen to a miserable person, an unhappy person talk about eating disorders or eating disorder recovery? No. Does, that sort of face of things have its place? Sure. But you want to be able to see the joy because you want to be able to see what you're shooting for. You want to be able to see what's on the other side. And when you're looking at miserable versus joyful wins every time. Now keep in mind what I'm saying. I'm saying joyful. I'm saying that I'm a joyful person. I'm not saying I'm perfect, that my videos are perfect, or that what I put out there into the world is perfect. I'm not saying that I'm happy all the time. I'm not saying that my videos are all about being happy all of the time. So, not perfect, not always happy, but joyful. And it's different. Joyful is filled with joy. And that's what I try to be. And that's what I was shooting for when I was recovering. And when recovering morphed into recovered, that joy kind of stuck around. And it's been building and building and building ever since. It's huge. I talk about choices a lot in my videos. And you can actually choose to be full of joy. You can actually choose to be full of joy in spite of circumstances, in spite of mental health issues, in spite of family problems or relationship problems. It won't make those problems disappear. It won't automatically solve all of your problems, but you can still choose joy. And when you choose to be joyful, you help yourself in ways that you don't realize because you're helping yourself with your heart instead of your mind. And joy helps me to help others because I want to share what I feel. I want others to feel what I feel. And that's what I'm really all about, which is why instead of using the word recovered all the time, even though I consider myself a recovered person, I like to use the word free. I like to talk about freedom. I don't want to talk about recovered, and when you get to the, there's so many different points, there's so many different individuals, there's so many different eating disorders, there's so many different circumstances, there's so many different emotions, there's just so much stuff that what you're really shooting for when you break it all down and you simplify it is you're shooting for freedom. You want to be free of your eating disorder. That's your goal. Whenever it is you feel free of your eating disorder, that's when you can clap your hands, do a dance, smile, wake up every day filled with joy. And that's what I want for every single person. I always talk about hope being my favorite personal value. I like to put it in my little bios when I do guest blog posts. I like to put it on my own blog. I've talked about hope being my favorite personal value in job interviews and things like that. And it really is my favorite personal value because hope and joy are best friends. One will lead you to the other. Don't let anyone or anything steal your joy. Have a great week, everyone. I'll see you next time.